welcome yet again to another beautiful show with me, Lulu, and my violin, Bob. And today I'll be taking you through on how to take good care of your violin. But before we start, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe, and make sure to hit your notification bell so you don't get to miss any video that pops out and you don't get to ever miss a video. So, I'm going to be taking you through on how to take care of your violin. This is my violin, Bob. I love him very much. I've had him for 2 years now, but when I started, I was really excited to play the violin. But one thing that we did before we learned how to play the violin was to learn how to take good care of our violins. So today I'll be taking you through on what I learned, 5 tips that I learned while in class on how to take good care of your violin. So your violin is very fragile and is very breakable. And you cannot put it outside most of the time. So what you need to do is to learn how is to put it in a safe place. And that's where the case comes in. So tip number 1, always make sure that you put your violin in the case safely. So this is how my teacher taught me on how to take good care of your violin, how to put your violin in the case. As you can see, my violin is here and my shoulder rest is here. And notice that I did not put it on top of the shoulder rest, or else the case will get stuck. And this is my bow. And this is where I put all my rosin inside. That's how I learned how to take good care of how to put your violin. So I strapped it well, and after you're done strapping it, let me show you. After you're done strapping it like this, there, as you can notice, there's a buckle over here. So you close the buckle. You close the buckle, and then the zippers on the back, you zip it up properly, and you strap it. And there you go. There are many different cases for a violin, but I prefer this one, and this is what my violin came with, so I prefer it. And the case does not give you as much protection because it also needs to be kept somewhere because the case is also breakable. So that's where tip number 2 comes in. Make sure that you put your violin in a safe spot that is in room temperature. So as I told you before, the violin is very fragile. So one thing, if you put it to a too hot or too cold place, it might break and you will not get as good music from it as you should. So make sure that you put your violin in a room temperature place. And now, your bow is also very important to you. You have to also learn how to take good care of your bow. So that's where tip number 3 comes in. After you're done playing your violin, after you're done playing your bow is tightened when you play the violin. It's supposed to look like arch place. That's when it's tightened. But now you have to untighten it, because if you tighten it for too long, you might snap the bow and you will not be able to play as good. So as you can see here, the screw, as I showed you in the last video, the screw, I use it to untighten it. So I just tighten it in this way, and it untightens itself. And if I want to tighten it back up again, I just tighten it to the opposite direction. So make sure your bow is untightened. And after you're done, put it safely inside your case, like this. So now, another tip for taking good care of your bow is that the bow is made out of horsehair, So technically, You cannot play the violin with just horsehair. So that's where the rosin comes in. So when you tighten your bow for playing, you have to make sure that you put on rosin on it, because rosin, it makes you play better. It makes your sound much more hearable. Because if you don't put rosin on it, it'll be harder for people to listen to what you're playing. So it's kind of like wiping a window. You take the rosin and you scrub it. You have to make sure the spot over here turns into a white place, like mine. See? After it's whitened all up, you can now be able to play your violin. So that way, when you play it, see, it sounds much more better when you put it with rosin and much more clear. So then, now the rosin is just powder, you know. It's just powder all put up in one big clump. But powder, it gets out, right? So when you play your violin, the rosin gets out to your violin and to make it dirty. That's where this handy cloth comes in. So what you do is you make sure that your violin is very clean. That's tip number 5. Because if your violin is not very clean, it might cause you some problems with your playing. So make sure you wipe everywhere, slowly and carefully, concentrated, so that when you play your violin, at least your violin will not look like it just came out of the dumpster or something. So clean it carefully, but make sure it does not make much contact with the bridge, because the bridge is very fragile. So wipe it, wipe it. I like to do it for like at least 30 seconds, like washing your hands. You can sing a song if you want to, like Happy Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you. Now your violin is all cleaned up. It's even shining. So, put your violin back in safely. Put your rosin back in here. Close it. Strap here. Violin. Close the buckle. Zip it all up. And now your violin is safe and clean for you to play the very next day. So, I hope you learned a lot about how to take good care of your violin, because this tips really helped me to take good care of my violin Bob, and that's been with me for 2 years and has really helped me a lot. And next week we're going to be discussing on how to play the violin, since you've already mastered on how to clean it up. But before we end this show, I'm going to give you 2 seconds to subscribe. Ready? 1, 2. Thank you so much, everyone, for subscribing, and I hope you learned a lot about the violin, and I hope you have a very, very fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening. Mwah! I love you!